Okay, so here's a question I've been getting a lot lately. Is Japan still worth visiting in 2026? And honestly, I get it. The headlines have been kind of terrifying. Japan prices soaring. Oil shock hits Asia. New tourist taxes. If you've been Googling Japan travel recently, you've probably run into all of that. So today, let's cut through the noise. What's actually happening? What does it mean for your trip? And, spoiler, is Japan still worth it? Stick with me, this gets interesting. Let me ask you something. When you see those headlines, Japan prices rising, new fees, oil shock, what's your gut reaction? Do you feel like Japan is slipping out of reach? Maybe you're comparing it to Europe, where a coffee is 8 euros and a train from Paris to Lyon costs more than a flight. Here's the thing. Japan's story in 2026 is way more nuanced than the clickbait suggests. There are 3 separate forces driving prices right now. A global oil shock, a chemical supply chain effect most people have never heard of, and deliberate government policy decisions. Let's go through all 3. 94%. That's the number that explains almost everything. As of early 2026, roughly 94% of Japan's crude oil comes from the Middle East. Think about that for a second. The country that built the Shinkansen, one of the most technologically advanced nations on Earth, almost entirely dependent on oil from a region that is currently in the middle of a major conflict. That's not a distant geopolitical story for Japan. It's an immediate economic reality, and it hits faster than you'd expect. Let me show you exactly how. So here's what happened. In early 2026, the conflict in the Middle East escalated significantly around Iran. The Strait of Hormuz, this narrow waterway, barely 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, is the only sea route for oil coming out of the Persian Gulf. When that gets disrupted, prices spike, and spike they did. For Japan, there's a double hit. Higher crude oil prices in US dollars, but Japan imports in yen, and the yen has been weak. So you get the oil shock, amplified by the exchange rate, landing directly on Japanese import costs. The result? Import prices denominated in yen surged more than 17% year-on-year by April 2026. 17% year-on-year. That's how much Japan's import prices jumped, according to the central bank's own data. And here's the thing. That's not just oil. That's everything that gets made with oil, shipped with oil, packaged with oil. You're paying for the situation in the Middle East every time you walk into a Japanese grocery store. But the most interesting part? Most travelers have no idea how that chain actually works. And there's one link in that chain that almost nobody talks about. It's called Naphtha. And understanding it explains everything. Okay, quick chemistry. I promise this is relevant and kind of fascinating. There's this thing called Naphtha. Naphtha. It's a byproduct of oil refining, and it's basically the raw material for almost everything made of plastic. Packaging, bottles, film wrap, synthetic fibers, fertilizers. You don't buy naphtha directly, but you buy things that are wrapped in it, shipped in it, grown with it, stored in it. Japan's naphtha stockpiles fell to their lowest seasonal levels in over a decade in early 2026. And when that supply tightens, a slow-moving wave starts heading toward your shopping basket. The chain looks like this. Less oil available means refineries produce less naphtha. Less naphtha means petrochemical plants produce less plastic. Less plastic means packaging gets more expensive. More expensive packaging means every food manufacturer pays more to wrap, seal, and ship their products. And that cost? It doesn't disappear. It moves to the shelf. It's a slow-moving wave, but it arrived. Japan's food inflation ran above 7% for most of 2025. Rice, the staple of Japanese daily life, roughly doubled in price over 2 years. So when you walk into a convenience store and notice things are pricier than your guidebook said, now you know exactly why. 20,000. That's the number of individual grocery and household items that received price hikes. Think about what that means walking through a Japanese supermarket or convenience store. Things are a bit pricier than your guidebook said. Not shocking, not outrageous, but different from what you might have read about Japan from a few years ago. Now, here's the thing. Western visitors have been living with their own version of this inflation at home. The gap between what Japan costs and what comparable things cost in the US, Europe, or Australia, it narrowed. It did not close. We'll get to that shortly, but first, the fee changes Japan itself is introducing. Now let's talk about the fees Japan itself is introducing, separate from the oil situation. These are deliberate policy decisions, and there are three big ones to know. First, the departure tax triples, from 1,000 to 3,000 yen per person starting July 2026. For a family of 4, that's about $60 extra on departure. Second, the Japan Rail Pass, the beloved unlimited rail ticket for international visitors, goes up by 3,000 yen in October. The 7-day adult pass will cost 53,000 yen, or roughly $350. And third, the tax-free shopping system is being restructured. From late 2026, you'll pay full price at the store and collect your refund at the airport. Let me break down the timing on each of these. Here's how to think about the timing, because it actually matters for when you book. If you're traveling before July 2026, you pay the old departure tax rate of 1,000 yen. After July, it's 3,000. If you're planning a rail-heavy trip and a JR pass makes sense for your route, buying it before October locks in the current price. The tax-free change affects your cash flow. Under the new system, you'll be carrying more cash during your trip, waiting on the airport refund. And separately, a possible entry screening fee of 2,000 to 3,000 yen per traveler is being discussed. Not yet finalized, but worth watching if you're booking for later in the year. So what do you actually do with this information? 4 moves. 1. Check the departure tax rate when you book your return leg. It changes in July. Plan accordingly. 2. Run the JR Pass math for your specific route. At 53,000 yen, it only makes financial sense if you're doing serious long-distance rail. For a Tokyo-only trip or a city-hopping itinerary with short hops, point-to-point tickets may be cheaper. 3. Under the new tax-free system, keep every single receipt. You'll need them at the airport for your refund. And 4. The entry screening fee. It's being discussed, but not yet law as of mid-2026. Check Japan's official tourism site close to your travel date for the latest. Okay, here's the part that clickbait headlines always bury in paragraph 7. Japan, for visitors arriving with dollars, euros, or pounds, is still remarkably good value. Let me be specific. The Tokyo subway, 200 to 300 yen per ride. The London Underground charges 2 to 3 times that for a single journey. A bowl of ramen at a counter restaurant, 900 to 1,400 yen. That's $6 to $10. Try getting a full restaurant meal for that in Paris or New York. Temples and shrines, often free or 500 to 1,000 yen. European heritage sites regularly charge 15 to 20 euros just for entry. The value equation has shifted, it hasn't flipped. Let me give you a direct comparison. A clean, well-located business hotel in central Tokyo, 8,000 to 12,000 yen per night. That's roughly 50 to 80 US dollars. The same category in London or Paris? You'd be looking at $200 to $300, sometimes more. A restaurant meal. Japan regularly serves you for what a coffee and a pastry costs in a Paris cafe. Now, yes, Japan has become more expensive than it was in 2019 or 2022. The travelers who remember that era will notice. But for anyone arriving for the first time with Western-priced expectations, Japan still surprises on the upside. That's the honest assessment. This is the line I keep coming back to. The gap has narrowed. It has not closed. Japan in 2026 is not the impossibly cheap destination it was at the bottom of the yen's value cycle. It's also not a destination that's out of reach for most international travelers. It's somewhere in between, closer to realistic, still delivering on value, and still delivering on the experience. And honestly, the experience is why you're watching this. The food is extraordinary. The transport is reliable in a way that still surprises people. The cities are safe and beautiful in ways that take real time to fully appreciate. None of that changed, none of it. So how do you actually navigate this in practice? 4 moves. 1. Load a mobile IC card, Suica or Pasmo, onto a compatible smartphone before you land. You tap on trains, buses, and even convenience stores. Works with foreign credit cards for top-up. It's the smoothest, most cost-efficient way to handle small daily transactions. 2. The restaurant lunch trick. The same place that charges 3,000 yen for dinner will often serve you a teishoku set, rice, soup, main dish, pickles, for 1,200 to 1,800 at lunch. Same kitchen, half the price. 3. Carry some cash, but not a lot. 5,000 yen to 10,000 yen at a time covers almost everything. 4. ATM at a convenience store, not the airport exchange. Better rates every time. Genuine question. Let me know in the comments, because this helps me understand what you're actually worried about. Are you strategic about the fee timing? Are you a day-to-day food budget traveler? Are you watching the yen? Or are you just going and you want to go with your eyes open? Because here's the thing. All 4 of those are valid travel styles, and the advice is slightly different for each one. If timing matters to you, go before July. If food costs are your main concern, do the lunch trick every day. If you're watching the yen, it's currently around 150 to the dollar, and that's actually quite favorable historically. And if you're just going regardless, good. Welcome to the club. Here's my honest verdict. Japan in 2026 is more expensive than Japan in 2019. Some of that is global inflation. Some of it is the specific energy situation in the Middle East. And some of it is deliberate policy. Japan is moving toward a model where tourism contributes more directly to the infrastructure and communities it puts under pressure. None of that changes the fundamental experience on offer. The food is extraordinary. The transport is reliable. The cities are safe and beautiful. The cultural depth is unlike anywhere else in the world. Japan isn't getting too expensive. It's getting more accurately priced. And it still has a long way to go before it loses its edge. That's everything. The oil shock, the Naphtha chain, the new fees, what's still affordable, and the 4 smart moves to travel Japan well in 2026. The full written guide is at welcometojapan.jp, link in the description. If you found this useful, subscribe. We put out Japan travel and culture content regularly, and I'd love to see you back. And if you do make it to Japan this year, go with your eyes open, your IC card loaded, and your appetite ready. It's worth it. Thanks for watching. One quick note before we wrap up. All the illustrations you've seen in this video are AI generated. They're meant to capture the feel and mood of Japan's current travel landscape, not to be accurate depictions of specific places, prices, or services. Real Japan will look different, and honestly, that's part of the adventure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.